Hello and welcome to Season 4, Week 1 of the Pokemon Battle League. That's right, I'm saying it's Season 4, not Season 3. I am Evan Roeder, head coach of the Saffron City Sneasels and your 3-time champion. Don't worry, not a big deal. I'm very humble about it. This week, I am taking on Jake of the Pikipeks. I believe he is now the Pokeball Factory Pikipeks. Great, rich tapestry of lore he is weaving right now, yes. Let's get right into this battle. So going up against Jake, he has a team that, in general, I think I match up very well against. However, he brought some things I did not expect. I think it was just a really big oversight on my part not to have considered the Incineroar, because Incineroar matches up very well against my team. Jake is, of course, in my division, the Kanto division, so it's especially important that I get these victories. Winning the division is always going to be important with our new format. He opens with his Slurpuff, which I am almost certain is going to be a Sticky Web set and not a Belly Drum set. I go for the Toxic just to start off, just in case it is a Belly Drum, because if it's Sticky Web, I think I can play around it. And it is indeed Sticky Web, so now I'm not really sure what this thing's going to do. It set up its webs. I figure maybe it just is going to use Play Rough or something. I don't really know what else this set would do. So I switch out with a U-turn, and I bring out LeCharles. I'm not going to take the Sticky Web, and I'm thinking maybe I can get a nice chunk of damage off, and if it's a Play Rough, I'll resist it. He goes for the Hyper Beam, though, which definitely did not expect, and generally speaking, I wouldn't recommend somebody running Hyper Beam. But I have a free turn, so I'm going to Dragon Dance here, because why not? So I get my Dragon Dance off, and I'm feeling strong, and I'm feeling fast, and I'm ready. The poison keeps ticking away, so I am definitely in KO range now. But I'm definitely considering a switch, so I think I go for the Mega Evolution and the damage here. He goes out to Incineroar to get the Intimidate drop and resist any fire move I may have, which is a very good switch on his part. Here comes LeCharles getting that Mega Evolution, also securing that if he does set up Stealth Rocks later on in the match, I'm only going to be taking 25% damage and not 50% damage, which is essential. So yeah, I went for the Fire Punch, and it does about a quarter, so not bad. After all, Incineroar doesn't have traditional means of recovery, but I do switch out because I'm no longer at +1 attack, and I'm fearing an Earthquake. But he goes for the knockoff. I'm guessing he was expecting a switch. And he knocks off the Eviolite of my Gligar, which I named Rattata. I almost said Rattata. And losing the Eviolite definitely sucks. My defenses have been crippled, but it's still got decent bulk and a lot of good resistances for his team, so I'm still going to get a lot of use out of this Gligar. I set up my Stealth Rocks, which I prioritized that because I needed to break the Dragonite's multiscale. And out comes the Slurpuff again. I do enjoy the nickname Shipdit, very good. I go for the Roost, recovering some HP. Now that I don't have the Eviolite, staying healthy is going to be even more important. He goes for the Aromatherapy, which I don't know if that was really necessary. I guess he wanted to preserve this Pokemon, but I assume that once you set up your Sticky Web, you're kind of done. I don't know what else you need this thing for. So I go out to Davy Jones, the Delmise, and boy is this thing a monster. I love this Pokemon. He goes for the Hyper Beam, which is what I was predicting, and I'm immune to it. He goes for the Sticky Web again. Maybe he was thinking that I would Rapid Spin and then, or something like that, but I definitely wouldn't outspeed anyway. So I just went for the Anchor Shot, and I get a KO, the first so far for Delmise. Delmise has a very good game this week. And he brings out Grimace, the Gengar. And I made sure to do my math homework here, and I realized that I have only a 6% chance of dying to a Shadow Ball here. So I like those 94% odds of survival, and I stick with it. I stay in there, and I get the knockoff, so that's the second KO for Delmise. I was actually surprised I got the KO. Again, Showdown isn't, or Pokemon calculators aren't always exact. Sometimes the math is a little off. I thought I was going to be doing close to like 90-something. He goes for Fly here, which I didn't expect. I was ready to just let this thing faint to get a free switch. Now, keep in mind, he went for Fly here. This is very important later in the match. He goes for Fly. What would that kind of tell you as a player? For me, this tells me he's running maybe some sort of set that's meant to stall out some Toxic Poison, maybe... I actually double-checked, like, is this his Z-Mon? And it's not. So I was very confused why he would even run Fly in the first place. But he ran Fly, and he does about a little over a quarter to my Jirachi. And then he has to switch out. And he brings out Brick Flare again. The Incineroar, my Stealth Rocks are really taking their toll on this thing. And I believe I predicted this one and I U-turn out of here. I think. Let me double... Okay, no, I went for the Ice Punch. I was a little greedy. I am Scarfed this week. I know it's degenerate of me to Scarf a Jirachi, but I was not doing it to get Flinch Hacks. Remember that for later in the match. That's not why I was running Choice Scarf. I was running Choice Scarf to outspeed Dragonite with an Ice Punch, to outspeed Alola Ninetales, which he did not bring, with an Iron Head. And those were the main two reasons why I had the Choice Scarf. It was not just for Flinch Hacks. So I go out and I Toxic Poison this Incineroar because I don't think this thing can really hurt me. And he goes for the U-turn to just get up on out of there. Gets the critical hit, does not matter. I feel like in this league, a lot of the critical hits always just seem pretty irrelevant. He goes out to Shredder, the Kartana, which is terrifying. It's a very scary Pokemon. The first thing you got to do with this thing is always identify what set it's running. And I know that it's not Scarfed or Banded anymore for the Sword Stance, and I decided to U-turn out here. If he KO'd me, that'd be fine because I have a Greninja that would be able to outspeed, but more importantly, I have this boy right here, Davy Jones, who is now healthy again, and I can tank anything that Kartana can throw at me because I'm holding a Colbur Berry. Colbur Berry will reduce the damage of a knockoff, and it will also count as me not having an item for the purposes of knockoff because the berry triggers first. So that was going to be my check to Kartana, which is why I was very thankful that I was able to get that synthesis off earlier in the match. I go for the Hidden Power Fire, hoping that he would stay in and go for a knockoff, but he doesn't. He goes out to his Gigalith. Hidden Power Fire does a laughable amount of damage, but now the Gigalith's in here, I figure I might as well just stay in and get some damage off because... Oh no, I switch out. Okay, that must be later in the match. So I got to the Canker Sisters, my Hydreigon, the Goons, and he goes for a Stone Edge. I dodge it. Very, very proud of the Canker Sisters, ready for those rocks. And I recover a little bit with my leftovers. This Hydreigon is more of a support kind of Hydreigon. Hydreigon actually has a very good support move pool, so I go for Defog right here to remove the Sticky Web. Now the Sticky Web's gone, it frees up my team. It was important to get the Sticky Webs removed. Now that Sticky Web's gone, Greninja will be able to outspeed and kill both the Kartana and the Dragonite. That is my thought process at this point in the game. And I think that's just as important. Again, I'm setting up for later because things happen in this match that are, I guess you could say, like controversial, and I just want to show my thought process up until that point. I go for the Dark Pulse thinking he might switch, and it doesn't do that much because he did not switch. In retrospect, I should have just gone for my other move, which was Flash Cannon, because that would have been super effective. I recover a little bit HP, and I decide to save my Canker Sisters for later, as it still has some more utility, and it can still serve my team well. I don't remember exactly who I go out to here. Probably Jirachi. Yeah, I go out to Jirachi. I'm threatening with the Iron Head, of course. And taking a little bit of those Stealth Rack damage. Goes for the Toxic. I wasn't even trying to... I wasn't predicting Toxic necessarily. I was predicting maybe another Stone Edge. But either way, I'm immune, and I'm happy with it. And I figure he's got to switch, but he doesn't switch. He just stays in there, which kind of screwed me up. I just went for a U-turn, expecting him to switch and me to get the switch priority, but now I got to bring out somebody to take a hit. And I go out to Davy Jones. He's very bulky. I built him bulky this week, and he goes for the Earthquake, which was kind of my thought once I U-turned and he was still in there. I figured if he's going to stay in on the Jirachi, he must have something for it, and this thing runs Earthquake pretty often. So I go out to the Dhelmise, and now I'm going to get a good chance to recover, and that's exactly what I do. Got to keep myself nice and bulky. My thought process here is for the Kartana. Stay healthy for the Kartana. Gotta fear the Kartana. He goes out to the Stone Edge again. It does maybe about a third, maybe about a quarter. And I just going to try to get my health as high as possible before I go for that KO. Because I do have the Anchor Shot. I assume he knows I have the Anchor Shot. Maybe he doesn't want to switch. He goes for the Toxic, which is unfortunate, kind of. I don't really anticipate this being like a super stally match, even though it does go on for a good amount of time. So the Toxic isn't the biggest deal, but it does put a bit of a timer. It makes me a little bit less sustainable. And I go out to the anchor shot now that I am nice and bulky and ready. And it does over half, meaning the next one will KO and he cannot escape. Stone Edge, again doing, about a third. And now I've kind of got a decision, do I want to Synthesis again, but that's just going to delay the inevitable with the Toxic stall, or do I want to go for the Anchor Shot? I go for the Anchor Shot because my thought process is, alright, I don't see a realistic chance where I'm able to Synthesis and get the Anchor Shot off and stay healthy for the Kartana. So I'm going to let this thing die, and I still have my check to Kartana in the back, which is my Greninja. I know he's not Scarfed, so my Greninja will outspeed, and I have Hidden Power Fire. So that's kind of how this is working in my mind right now. He goes for the Outrage, which is like, okay, great, he's locked into a Dragon move. Awesome, I get a free switch. Out comes my Greninja. Now, he used Fly earlier in this match. When he used Fly, I was like, okay, this guy's running some sort of set. I know that it is not a Choice Scarf, because you would not run Fly and Choice Scarf, because what's the point of a Choice Scarf if you don't even move on your first turn and, like, attack? But he is Choice Scarfed. I was so upset at this. And to make matters worse, I messaged Jake about this, and I found out he did not mean to put a Choice Scarf on there. He accidentally left a Choice Scarf on there, and he meant to switch it for Leftovers. So my whole game plan for this Kartana has been thrown out the window. The Delmise I sacrificed under the assumption I could handle things with my Greninja. My Greninja I brought out under the assumption that I was faster because Fly means no Choice Scarf, because it just doesn't make sense to me. So his mistake becomes my mistake, essentially, and it actually works out really well for him. So the Incineroar comes back out. I do have the check for that, which is my Gligar. Jeez, I cannot remember this guy. I keep on saying Gliscor or Rattata. I did this to myself. And I survived this thing, and I know that I'm faster. He does have the Pinch Berry, which is a good item. I really like that item on this thing, because if you don't have Natural Sustain, I think Leftovers or the Pinch Berry is the right choice. And he goes out to Shredder. This is the thing that I feared, and now this is like a worst case scenario for me. And I'm like, this match could be over. That's kind of my thought process right now. I'm trying to think, like, what is my last chance hope? Because if he Swords Dances, or even if he just gets a boost, I'm in major trouble. And I just keep, I keep thinking, this fucking Choice Scarf Fly Dragonite, is that really what's going to do me in? And I'm trying to, okay, don't focus on the past, play forward, but, I don't know what I have. I have my Choice Scarf Jirachi, and I decide between, I could go for an Ice Punch, which isn't going to do enough, or I can go for the less effective Iron Head and hope for the flinch, and, this is basically what I'm resigned to here. I just need to get lucky and flinch, and I get 2 flinches in a row. I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of working. But I gotta keep rolling the dice. And I get a 3rd flinch. And I know people watching this are probably a little annoyed, because this is the one reason people hate Jirachi, is this flinch hacks. And like I said earlier in the commentary, that's not why I was running Jirachi, but it just so happened that this is what Jirachi ends up doing for me. He switches out, which I think is a huge mistake that may have lost him the game. I think that it would have been better for him to have just rolled the dice and hoping that eventually I don't get the flinch, because he had knockoff and he was going to get that KO, and once he got that 1 KO, that's game over. But he switches out. So after he switches out, I switch out back to my Hydreigon, and I know that I have 1 chance to win. I need to survive a hit, which I'm able to do, and I need to set up a Tailwind, because with a Tailwind, my Charizard will be able to outspeed the Kartana. That is, I saw the window once he switched out the Kartana, because I'm pretty sure this thing had Sacred Sword, but even if not, a Leaf Blade might have KO'd my Hydreigon at +1. But now that he switched out, I have the chance to set up the Tailwind, and now I just gotta let myself die, which I thankfully do here. So I take the U-turn damage, I go down, Hydreigon, huge for me. On the stat sheet, all that it looks like is he tanked 2 hits, he set up 1 Tailwind and 1 Defog, but he basically, if it was not for him, I would lose this match. And if it was not for Jirachi's 3 flinches, I would lose this match. But now I have my Tailwind up, out comes LeCharles, who can outspeed. And I was so lucky But I don't feel bad about this luck. Normally, I would feel a sense of guilt. I don't generally try to play like a degenerate who relies so much on RNG. But after what I considered BS, the bad luck of the accidental choice scarf ruining my entire game plan, I figured, okay, the Pokemon gods have smiled upon me with these 3 flinches, and that allows me to win the game. Great game, Jake. You played a good game. I think you just made maybe 2 mistakes that cost you the match. I look forward to playing him again later in the season. We are in the same division, so I will be facing him in, I think it's the 3rd to last week. I think that's how the schedule is set up for everybody in the league. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and tune in next week to see me take on another divisional rival, Dan. And also tune in next, maybe 1 or 1.5 weeks from now, when you hear the PBL cast come out, and I'm sure that Jake will have a lot to say. All right, goodbye.